Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We got a chance to chat with Brandini last night ahead of the match, so that's what we were running there. It was awesome to pick his brain of what's going on with the team, his perspective as a player who's played in these sorts of tournaments before from this perspective, both from the amateur side. He's played in Academy, he's played in LCS, and now we get to hear his thoughts on the team that literally just picked up game number 1 against TSM Academy. Smags, I could hear the excitement in your voice when the moment switched and we were like, is AOE going to do it? They're at Dragon Soul Point. They're coming back. They're winning these fights. And then once they got that Dragon Soul, it was pretty much a sealed deal.
Yeah, I'm sure TSM fans in the chat are not the most pleased with me about being excited about their downfall, but I'm just so happy to see the amateur teams being competitive in Proving Grounds. And, you know, I've casted a lot of the unified tournament where Immortals were doing so well. I knew that they had it in them to pull off games like this, and specifically Meech as well. I mean, 15 kills on Xayah, that was quite the game.
Nuts.
Quadra kill at the end too.
Yeah. And of course, Brandini was talking about it. When I asked what players do we need to keep our eyes on, we in a general sense, because I was asking for us on broadcast and also for the fans out there, any scouts, any other general managers from LCS teams, and he referenced Anime Girl, who had a rough laning phase on the Trinity but brought it back, had a really good decision making later in the game, and then of course Meech and Trevor, who had some really solid moments. I wanted to run some replays so we could really take a look at some of the performances, and initially I was looking at an earlier gameplay that was focused on Meech and Trevor, but then this specific play happened towards, I want to say it was right after the third dragon. I don't remember the exact timestamp in the game, but we'll take a look at that replay if production can pull that up, because there's a couple of key moments that happened that highlight the players that Brandini was hyping up himself. Because TSM are invading Immortals AOE jungle here. Watch Anime Girl. Starts with the pick on a Viper, but literally watch the Tryndamere, track him, boom. Watch what he does. 1v3.
Yeah.
All this space he's buying.
It's pretty incredible. Right. It isn't even the only time he does this in this game either. There was the one where he just like fully went forward and cut off 3 different members in the mid lane play as well. That one he even lived, which was incredible.
Just incredible stuff from Anime Girl. I like, while Meech was the one getting all the kills and definitely the backbone for the team, Anime Girl was making sure that Meech could carry. Getting a lot of distance for Meech to constantly fight one person at a time, not really have to worry about too many members jumping on top of Xayah.
Exactly. And of course, we also, I believe we also have a replay of the last team fight too, which was the quadra kill that happened for Meech. I'd love it. I think that we have that one, so we can run that as well, because just showing off the team play, the biggest difference between these two teams that I saw as, here we go, the final play, full commit onto your, the Xenoblade misses, but they still get Yursan. That's how far up TSM were and how quickly Immortals AOE were able to collapse onto this. But the biggest difference I saw here, Smacks, was that TSM Academy, they have strong individual performers, and I don't know if we saw them all on the same page consistently in this game. Immortals AOE, they were definitely consistently on the same page, and during those team fights, you could see that demonstrated.
You got too big for the britches.
I think Immortals were certainly more on the same page. And there could be a lot of things that factor into that one. You know, TSM Academy has had roster changes all throughout the split. Immortals has not. You do play a lot of games in the amateur side of things as well. So there's been a lot of time for Immortals to stack up all of this gameplay. But whatever the reason is, it's true. Immortals AOE did look more conjoined together as an entire unit than TSM did in this game, and I think that is the reason that they won.
And of course, we can also factor in scaling factors like the Veigar does get monsters in the late game. Went for the I'm blanking out the item name right now. Yeah, there we go. The chains to make sure that the Ahri wasn't fully one-shotting them while they're getting picked off. But it wasn't just the scaling, because they had to get to that point, and that came down to execution. Slowing down the snowball of TSM Academy. But now as we look at it from TSM Academy's side and their point of view, a lot of it was, I think, the one highlight play that we showed Anime Girl, 1v3, and Hyper also goes in to try and get the kill out of Winston and can't clean that up and then gets popped himself. So there's like these little moments where I think like we see these pockets where maybe communication's clogged, comms are chaotic in moments like that. People are trying to do their own hero plays and not necessarily on the same team. I still have faith that TSM Academy can bring it back and that they can say, all right, let's slow the gameplay down a little bit. We don't need 5 heroes on the same team. But with that said, we do want to actually run our predictions that we had going into the match. And these are correct. These are not adjusted based on what's happening in the series right now. And I actually haven't even seen the two of yours. So let's pull up our predictions because I did myself have TSM taking this one. All right. Now I was worried. I was worried that this was going to be the official graphic.
Yep.
We're all aligned. That's going to 3. That's nice.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, at least
There
we
we
have
go.
that going for us. But I mean, Immortals AOE are my dark horse. This is the team that I picked out at the very beginning of it. Like, this is the team that I'm excited to see, especially if they can bounce back because they have players that I'm so excited to see. And looking at how they can come together as a team when they're so far behind and still pick up a victory really does show
Each.
why I picked them.
Meech diff, everybody. I don't know if there's a copy pasta rolling for Meech right now, but we better get one rolling in Twitch chat because we are getting ready for pick and ban for game number 2. I'm hearing that the players are ready. So Magical, Smacks, take it away.
I'm ready for this game, especially if it's another banger like that last one, Smacks. This one should be so exciting. Like, the last series, 100X crushed it. It was absolutely a dominating performance. This game, this series, I was afraid it was going to be the same thing with how early of a lead TSM Academy had gotten for themselves. But Immortals AOE bouncing back, an incredible look for them to take up that first victory. But now, looking to TSM Academy, what can they fix to make sure that does not happen again?
Well, they're already on red side. That's one of the things that I was excited to see if they would do. They do get a better counter pick matchup for a few of their lanes, most notably Viper. I think for him, making sure he has a really solid matchup is a really big deal. So we'll see how this entire draft does unfold from there. TSM will clearly not get their hands onto Jinx this time around, so that's going to be pretty exciting. Zeri's up.
I was about to say, Zeri's still up. There it is.
Yeah.
Locked in. Will be the handshake because Hecarim is also available. So I'm expecting to see Hyper grab that as well. Because you look at how that early game was for him, it wasn't necessarily the worst experience. He did a good job of making sure that he had these leads, that he was getting advantages over Winston. Of course, there was a couple times where he played a little too aggressively. But at the same time, it was good showing from Hyper. So I'm expecting that they would want to roll that back, but they are hovering the ball bear instead, and they take that.
Yeah, if anyone in the chat is sitting here and watching what happened in the first 20 minutes of the last game and then like took a break, they're like, all right, I'll be here for game 2. The top of your screen is not a lie. Immortals did in fact win the game, even though TSM Academy did actually win that early game so hard. And I'm glad you brought that up because I really did enjoy, like you said, the way that everyone was coming together on the side of TSM Academy. They didn't like it that much apparently though, because they are actually giving over this Hecarim to Winston in trade of this Volibear, a vastly different draft strategy for game 2, and they don't have that same scaling really anywhere as they did before. The Jinx is gone in replacement of Xayah, and the Volibear is here in replacement of Hecarim.
Well, I'm almost wondering if this is the side of TSM Academy saying, we are going to end this game early. We will not give you the same avenues to find victory. It's going to be fast, it's going to be clean, it's going to be efficient from them. Because so far, all these champions they have drafted are for those early games because we're expecting Instinct to play that full lethality Xayah. You look at the other side, Zeri, Hecarim. I mean, Ahri's pretty good at the early to mid game. But the other two champions are more scalers.
This Ahri Hecarim combination, is this the 4th game in a row that we're seeing this? No, we saw LeBlanc instead in the 2nd game for 100 Thieves. But either way, it's been a lot of Hecarim and Ahri together. And the same is true as it is right now. These champions do work really well together. Ahri sets up for a lot of the plays that Hecarim wants to go for, and that's what we saw Kaiduo and Hyper completely master in the early stages of that last game. It's on the opposite side this time around, and maybe Kaiduo has the same Veigar champion pull that Shochi just pulled out, but I would be surprised, and I would like to see Kaiduo go for something that is maybe able to match the activity of Ahri early.
That's what I'm wondering as well, because usually the Rise is the answer, or Victor that he's played. Could always play Corki. He's done that as well into Ahri in the past. These are champions that he's had great success on, but they are more scaling. And with how the team is looking at the moment, it seems more they are committing towards that early game. They grab the Silas. This is actually what was initially considered that counter pick into Ahri before people started picking up things like Vex and Veigar.
We've seen some really good games from the Sylas too. It's not just the Ahri that's a really big deal in this game. Playing against Hecarim is also really good with the Sylas because you can take away that ultimate and give Sylas a full unstoppable engage into that backline. And Meech is going to have to be so careful because this champion is so mobile, can actually match the mobility that's often so frustrating to deal with on Zeri. So Kaido, you better have a big pop-up performance like he did in the last game so that he can shut down this champion that hasn't been seen very often because it just gets banned every game in the Zeri.
Usually, I was about to say, it's interesting to see how a lot of these champions that we're used to getting banned, even the Hecarim, has been left open this entire day. That's something we expect to get banned a lot more often as we now going into the second half of things with the 2 mid lane bans and the 2 support bans on the other side. They're going to put Trevor on to Leona and grab Anime Girl and Akali.
Feels like Immortals AOE was watching the drafts from 100 Thieves Next in the last series. So they do have a pretty similar setup this time around. A lot of lockdown from the support. They've got 2 ability power champions to deal a lot of magic damage, and then the Hecarim to bolster it as well in the late game. This composition just feels so solid all around. And I'm stalling because I don't want to get baited, but we're not baited. It's Viper Riven in game 2.
I was about to say, he's played the Viper Riven into Akali many times. We've seen whenever it's a blind Akali, he'll grab that Riven, and I'm so excited to see this out of Viper. This makes this top lane matchup that we had highlighted at the beginning of the match so much more exciting because we get the pocket pick from Viper, the champion that he made his name on initially in Riven, up against Anime Girl on Akali. Another one of those champions that is incredibly exciting to see when they can pop up.
And he's going to try to do his brother proud after Sniper won a 2-0 series earlier in the day. Viper pulling out the utmost comfort champion for himself in this do or die situation for TSMA. They are 1 game away from being the second Academy team knocked out of Proving Ground Spring 2022, and they do not want to have that happen after their rather disastrous season where they did place 10th overall, 13-23 in that split. So they move forward. They took 1 win in the play-ins, but since then it's been devastation for them, and they're trying desperately to claw their way back through that and get some wins on the board for TSM, man. They've been struggling this split all across the board.
They've definitely been on the struggle bus, but keep in mind that the second half of the split is when they got most of those wins they put on the board. Only it was not enough to overcome how bad they performed at the initial stages of the split. So seeing them here, backed up against the wall, they lose this one. 2-0 victory for Immortals AOE. They'd be the first Academy team to lose in a full sweep in the Proving Grounds this year. So we'll have to see if they can bounce back and make sure we get a game 3.
It's absolutely true. I didn't even think about that one here, Magical, but we are just about on to the Rift for the second game. So we get into this one. You already laid out the stakes right there for TSM Academy. For Immortals AOE, these players are trying to get into Academy for the first time, or for Winston, they're trying to get right back. And to do that, Winston will need to take down the Academy org that let him onto the team in the first place. Yep. Just a few splits ago, Winston played his first Academy split ever on TSM Academy, and they got second overall. It was a great performance, but now he is on the other side of that matchup trying to prove that it was a mistake that they dropped him, and he's trying to get his spot back.
Working his way back up, climbing from the very bottom. What better way than taking down your former team? But at the moment, there was that early invade TSM tried to accomplish, but a good ward in the pixel brush that was placed down by Winston meant that they had spotted that out well in the workings. And so they got Sochi into the opposing jungle and he'll put a very deep ward himself. He'll spot out the movements of Hyper.
Jungle movements are a really big deal for Hyper, especially if TSM gets scouted out in that way. Then Hyper, you gotta pack his bags, man, because you are not outscaling that Hecarim, and you need to get things done early game. You have a very melee entire team as well, so if you do fall behind, it's so difficult to actually find engages with Riven and Volibear and Nautilus and everything into the range of Shochi and Meech.
All right, I was laughing at the hide and seek in top lane. The Anime Girl, Viper, Peekaboo, I see you. I'm gonna find you. Ooh.
How do we feel about the Twilight Shroud start for Anime Girl?
Unlucky.
Yeah, I'm about the same right there. It's a bit rough into Viper's Riven. He's level 2 now, so he at least has a real
Actually,
ability.
no. Oh, it was for the hide and seek game. It was a handshake. They were playing hide and seek, trying to see who could find who first. I mean, in League of Legends, that doesn't really work because, you know, if you see each other, usually. No.
We need the Crystal Scar back so we can play more hide and seek on Dominion.
Oh, I missed that. Oh my goodness. Hide and seek, Rek'Sai, Battleship. Those were the days.
Oh, what is Rek'Sai Battleship?
You
Explain
never
that to
played
me.
Rek'Sai Battleship?
No, I didn't play that.
Oh
What's
my
that?
goodness. I mean, obviously, it's a 1v1 duel between Rek'Sais, but you have to stay in the buried form. And you can only attack using the Void Seeker.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's like
well.
it's like Mundo Dodgeball but blind.
Yeah, and also a larger area. So you can move around the whole map. But right here, got an invade coming in from Viper, looking to take away the red buff of Winston. And early stages of the game, kind of saw last time when Volibear Hecarim beat up early. Volibear usually wins these out, and Winston doesn't even bother. He knows that there's the possibility it was being taken, so instead he just recalls.
Yeah, Kaido and Yerson were off vision there too, so there was a very real chance that he would have just been completely blitzed by 3 champions, and you don't live that. Especially on Hecarim this early game, because you don't have flash at all. You did take the Ghost here for Winston, so very wise move of him to avoid all confrontation this early into the game. Unfortunately for him, Viper has a really solid push in his top lane, and he can't even get the crab, because Viper had all this extra time to go steal that one away from him. And this is just like double jungling at this point, completely shutting down Winston's early.
This is why we've seen Viper take the Riven into Akali. He knows he can bully around Akali in early stages, constantly making use of the AoE that you get from Riven, even if you're in their Twilight Shroud.
This red side pick for TSM is already paying dividends because of this too, because this is what they saved 5th pick counter pick for, so that Viper had a favorable matchup into Anime Girl. Really working at this point as Anime Girl. He's not trying to trade with Viper. He's just trying to set up the wave and maybe bait him in so that Winston can come clean up the pieces.
Look at Viper. Viper's playing pretty defensively. Board spots out.
There it is.
Winston,
Nice.
but he doesn't even relent. He sticks up to the wave. And all right, I can crash this in. Anime Girl has to back. Even if you try to look for the play, I would make it a 1-for-1.
Oh man, he's not even recalling.
No.
Viper has Flash and Ignite in this game. Anime Girl has to be so careful. He's cheating at hide and seek again, though. He has the Twilight Shroud that he can duck under. It's nice of him to be able to have that retribution as Viper uses both wards. He's going in.
He's going in, and he should be able to get first blood for himself. Winston cleans up, but only just barely. This is why Viper Riven is the scariest thing on the Rift.
And he denies all those minions underneath the turret from Anime Girl, keeping that big advantage in the top lane. He's okay if it goes over to the junglers. Whoa, what a
Oh, that flash, the aggression. Meech is dead early on into the game, and Trevor might follow suit, but nope. It will just be them getting the one kill they need to so they can get a lot of leads, but in the mid lane, Shochi had a lot of aggression onto Kaido, forcing Hyper's hand to try to see if he can jump on top of Shochi. Got the Spirit Rush available, and look who's here. It's Captain America. Winston goes in, gets a little bit of damage. The Charm connects on Hyper. He flashed out to survive. The Ignite won't be enough to pick up that kill on a Hyper, but it all goes awry for TSM Academy.
And it sure was close right there as Hyper is able to push Shochi off of this wave and make sure that Kaido doesn't fall in the isolated 1v1. We got to talk about that bot lane skirmish, though. Instinct flashing forward. He's able to follow up on Yurson's engages, and that excites me to no end. I'm super pumped that Yurson and Instinct are looking more in sync in this next game, because that was certainly not the case in game 1. This is a huge, huge deal if they can keep this up.
Agreed. And this is also showing why I'm always so hyped about Yurson on engaged champions like Nautilus, like Rel, and like Alistar. He always has that aggressive tendency as a support that I love to see. Not playing passively, wanting to set up his AD carry for early leads. Even if he took that first kill, you denied a lot of gold to Meech and gives this advantage to Instinct to have a sizable CS lead.
And they've got that in all their lanes right now. Of course, Viper speaks for himself. 20 CS and the first blood. Huge for this Riven. But Kaido's doing it too, in a ranged matchup, no less. When he's playing the Sylas, that is huge skill coming out of the TSM Academy mid laner. If he can keep this up, then that is the win condition for TSM. Their melee champions really want to be ahead in this game. So I've already highlighted, because you have a gigantic range disadvantage. You even have one of the lowest range AD carries in the game.
I was about to say, it's low range across the board, and looking at how each of these champions is going to build, they do need to get these leads right out of the gates, and they're doing just that, but it will be at the trade and the cost of this dragon. They aren't quite confident enough to contest against something like this. Still early game, Yurasan Hex flashing away.
And now that I'm thinking about the gravity of this situation here, Magical, Hecarim and Zeri are the perfect champions to abuse low-range team compositions. How many times have you seen Zeri just run circles around melee champions that are not able to close the distance? Because it's been a lot, yeah, in this split alone. Zeri, I mean, she didn't exist before, so of course it's this split, but Meech and Winston as well have this possibility in this game to completely do that in this second one, especially if it goes late.
Perfect execution with the shotgun flip, and there's Shochi on the other side. They got the ignite on a Viper, but they're going to get a lot of damage. 1-for-1 trade at the moment, and with Kaido having stolen away Onslaught of Shadows, Winston cannot gallop out of this one. It will be Kaido taking him down.
No way to survive there for Winston. 2-for-1 in favor of TSM Academy. They are off to the races early game once more as Hyper sets up shop on this Rift Herald and be trying to take away the first objective for the team. We're going to watch this replay again, and we're seeing Anime Girl does deal a lot of damage. These members on TSM side are too tanky this early, though.
Yeah, and this is what you need for TSM Academy. They have built this composition to win the early game, but to also win the entire game quickly. This is not about them forfeiting some of those leads, relying on their scaling anymore. They have doubled down on the early game, while Immortals AOE have done the same, but for late game. So if Immortals continue to fall here, it might become impossible to actually get back into this game unless they can pick up kills like this onto Hyper inside their own jungle.
Oh, they were trying to give it over to Shochi there, I think,
Yeah,
but Winston will gladly take that. This Hecarim really does want to get ahead because of the things that I highlighted before, but also that's just what Hecarim is all about. If you have more items than the other jungler, then you are probably winning that game as Hecarim.
Isn't that
so
true
Winston's
for anybody?
No. No, it's not.
It's not? I thought that's
I
how
wouldn't
League of
say
Legends
so.
works.
What about like Rek'Sai?
Yeah, if you have
Speaking
more
of-
items, that's going to be great. And look at this. Shochi visits spot lane. Instinct. No escape. He uses cleanse, but look at the damage coming in from Shochi. Even with the Feather Call, it wasn't enough to be able to pick up the return kill.
Unfortunately for Meech, he doesn't participate in that one. Not gonna throw away his heal to get an assist, which I can respect, as it is go over to specifically Shochi, and Instinct uses both summoner spells too.
Yeah.
No release on the bottom lane side for TSM at the moment. However, this is going to be a missed wave right now for Shochi. Meech doesn't pick that one up either because it didn't rotate around. And we are still seeing that CS lead grow and grow for both Instinct and Kaido.
However, I do still like the play from Shochi. It's
Oh,
a
yeah, for
good
sure.
call to make sure they can deny some of that lead that Instinct had gotten from that one kill over Meech. Now, it's more even between the two ADCs. You can see that even if Instinct has completed that Eclipse already, you still have Meech well into the game. It's not as expensive of an item the Eclipse is, so that's why we'll soon see Zeri actually become the problem. But nice Spider-Man away from Yurasan, but it's just using all their ults with the flash away. They don't get him, actually.
Wow. And Yurasan saves depth charge too. That's actually a pretty big deal. He just does use his flash, but he has Hex Flash on support. So it's completely okay for the future, as that is Winston's ultimate used. And we're seeing again in mid lane, Kaido is able to get so much gold while Shochi's roaming.
Yeah, and it got more turret plates here. Kaido has stolen away Spirit Rush, so has added safety. Crashed that wave, more gold. We're just going to wait to see what Kaido is able to build if he can complete that Everfrost on his next recall.
You can get really bulky on this champion in the future too. So for Kaido, this is a big win condition. And for his team too, he just popped off so hard in game one, early game and late game if we're honest. Even though TSM did lose, Kaido was still very, very ahead over probably everybody's. That's depth
Spirit
charge.
Rush 1. Farm not connecting, but it doesn't matter. was able to get back towards his team. So now, with 3 members apiece in this mid lane, a lot of damage onto Kaido. Spirit rushes away. Make sure he can survive.
Double Spirit Rush there, but Kaido low enough to where they can pressure the rest of this rift. See if there's any objectives to take, and yeah, Kaido, he gets his recall canceled one more time, so maybe pushing in another wave and helping out these side lanes too, or it could just be a skirmish.
Could be, since Viper had rotated down, was threatening to join. They had spotted him out on that ward, so they would have known if Viper was going to join in, but instead it's going to be the cost of TP for Kaido. Get back into this mid lane and deny more plates going over to Immortals AOE.
Oh, I like this Rift Herald a lot. Completely diverting that attention away from the Dragon. It's still a huge win condition for Immortals AOE, and I think they're going to route the members of TSM away from the Dragon anyway. So it looks like Immortals AOE are still going to be able to take this Drake, which they desperately want. However, TSM have all of this gold. It's still going into Kaido. It's still stacking up, and I'm scared.
Oh, so am I. Looking at this, Kaido, we talked about there's a lot of early game potential for the side of TSM Academy, but we didn't really get to talk that much about Sylas being a condition to scale into the game. Same with Griffin. These two champions, especially if they are able to get leads, are that much more terrifying to actually contend against, and that's why they have to make the plays work on Kaido, but Kaido is doing such a good job of avoiding a lot of this damage, but he now will be found out. So much committed to make sure he was silenced.
And he didn't have his ultimate, so he couldn't steal away the key movement abilities there. Kaido flashing, not enough in the end, gives over that shutdown to these members of Immortals AOE. And I believe Winston got that one again.
Yeah.
So Winston continuing to scale up. He's going for the damage.
I was about to say,
way.
like, he's not even going for the tanky route that we generally see out of Hekrams either. Going for the Divine Tsundere. He's in the position to be another carry for the squad. And looking across the board, while all the mythics have been completed by TSM Academy, because they do have that gold edge at the moment, we're getting to the point when these critical mythics are getting completed for Immortals AOE, and they're not that far behind.
Meech is going to have some gigantic spikes soon. I mean, this is already one of them with the Trinity Forest. This is such a key item on Zeri if you choose to go for this style of build. And clearly Meech has. So we're going to see the tankier version of Meech. I really like that in this game because you are against a lot of these melee champions and you will need to be scrappy most of the time. So having that extra bulk onto your champion is going to matter in a lot of these skirmishes. So good on Meech to have that awareness.
Right now, looks like Viper wanted to get a solo kill on Anime Girl again, but Anime Girl doing a good job of consistently kiting these out and not actually fully aggressing. Even using perfect execution to get away and then going back in so they can take down Viper for a third time.
Oh, Viper, he really tried to get that flash engaged down, but Anime Girl completely reacted to that play, or not reacted, predicted it, rather. You can't react in that split of a second. Anime Girl knew that it was coming, and by doing it in the same split second too, he gets the perfect execution damage off onto Viper, and it is the difference maker in that instance. That is not a play that is easily replicatable. So for Anime Girl, big props.
Not only is the difference maker in the top lane, it's the rift maker gold needed to get back into this game and start to actually get control over Viper on his own. These are great positions that Immortals AOE are in, and where it started off so well for Viper in the top lane, where he got the solo kill underneath the turret, kill Anime Girl, things are starting to fall apart.
This time last game, we were singing the praises of TSM Academy and saying, hey, they are doing it. They are redeeming themselves from the early game, the early season, and they are winning against Immortals AOE. That didn't end up being true, and they don't have that same late game this time around in Viper. He doesn't have flash.
No, they just walk up, stun. Zenith played as well with an Ignite burning on his head, and look who's here, galloping right on top of him. Fourth death for Viper. He's not having a good game at all.
Definitely not. It's a huge difference from the last one, and most of that is because of the pressure that's been brought down by Immortals AOE. Nice hook.
That was a nice hook. Dredge line on top of Trevor, but Trevor's pretty tanky. Hyper was the one getting a lot of the attention. The crash for free. Not fully taking the turret itself, but here's Kaido. Good look for a re-engage, but they're still playing a little bit safe. With the nice Spider-Man away from Yurasan, they've got the engage coming in from Trevor, but he doesn't have that much mana. Instead, it's going to be the Pony galloping underneath the turret. The Pony Express, though, has to express away and still died nonetheless.
Kaido still has the Hecarim ultimate too. IMA might have more members here, but I don't know if they're going to win this one.
Shoji playing with fire, but gets the shutdown. Looks for 2, double kill. Onslaught of Shadows not doing enough to be able to take him down. And now with Kaido so low, they can get a free kill. Trevor takes them down, and Viper was just a little bit too late.
Man, I was convinced that Kaijo would be able to find something off of that play, but Immortals are too clean on the dive. Their teamwork, again, is paying dividends in this matchup. They are again winning the skirmishes against the Academy team. And I'm so excited about this. As everyone getting in on the action, all 5 members are showing up today.
They really are. This is a great look for Immortals AOE. Anime Girl, second time in a row, had a rough laning phase right out of the gates, but this time bounced back a lot sooner. As Winston here looks like he's in a lot of trouble with 3 members on top of him, but he's still pretty tanky nonetheless. Trying to get away, might be able to do just that. The Featherstorm will pick up the kill.
But he got the crab, though.
He got the crab.
Obviously, that's not worth it. Drake is up too. Winston was just trying to get some advantage over there with the Vision Shrine. Now he just needs Shochi to try to steal this. Can he do it?
Shochi. Oh.
Nice try.
I do appreciate it.
You just can't outsmite Smite. That's why it's called Smite.
I mean, you can, depending on the champion you have.
I suppose.
Like,
but
Cho'Gath?
Ari's not one of those.
Nunu?
Yeah, Cho'Gath and Jin can do it too.
Jin,
yeah.
Kalista can do it as well, but Shoji getting away. That charge does connect right underneath the turret with Everfrost as well. But that charm from Shoji is huge. And look who's here. It is Meech. Meech Diff is back, baby, and he's got the damage. Kaido has no escape that time around. With Yurson also realizing his inevitable fate. No way out. Anime Girl now on a killing spree.
That was so clean from Shochi, and he keeps all of his Dark Seal stacks. Crucially there, all the AP is still in his inventory, and Kaido fully gets outplayed on that time. Shochi huge on the charm, denying all of the extra movement, and then the team's there to clean this up as well. Doubling the kills in this one for Immortals AOE over TSM Academy. They still need to get back into the conversation of gold lead, but they still show us that they don't need a gold lead to win the team fights.
I was about to say, Max, what does it matter for Immortals AOE? They've got an Akali, a Hecarim. They've got a Zeri.
The power of friendship.
The power of friendship combined. They are a team that wants to scale anyways, and this is perfect. Even if they're a little bit behind in gold, it's not nearly that 7k gold deficit that they were able to overcome last game.
They're still showing some signs of weakness in the laning. They're still down pretty heavily in terms of CS. But where they make up for it is great teamwork, solid teamfight execution, and planning. Whoa.
Okay, Winston, that was a good buffer, but now they've got the root onto Trevor. There's a Featherstorm to dodge away, but Anime Girl, 1v4 in the back, blind Shuriken flips. Doesn't want to go back in. Perfect execution over the wall, but here's Viper as well. The re-engage from TSM. They've got the lockdown. Trevor's going to be the first target with Anime Girl flipping over the wall. They've got nobody just yet. Hyper survived the shutdown for Kaido. Meech is the next target. Taken down. Meech will take out Immortals AOE, but instead they turn their attention, see if they can get Sochi. They missed the dredge line, but here's Meech. 1v5. He gets one. He's trying to cut this back the best he can, but he's getting a little bit of damage. Being a little bit too ballsy as he dives back in. Dodges away from the change coming in from Kaido, but here's going to be Viper on top of him to make sure Meech Diff is not going to work out this time. With Shochi now on the run. Hyper Viper duo. They can look to see if they can take down Shochi, get some bounty gold for themselves, but instead, Shochi's charms are huge. The heal from Viper, and then a shutdown for Viper.
Oh, it was so close there for Immortals AOE so many different times, but it's Viper who wins the team fight in the end by the thinnest of margins. As we watch this one more time, Viper is the one who starts off this play trying to find a pick, and he's the one that ends it too. This fight's all over the place though, as Anime Girl dives underneath these turrets, and Meech and Viper, the two big carries for their team. This is a team fight where they directly go head to head to see who can be the biggest carry on the day. And it just feels like Viper is the one who wins out this time on the Rift.
And before that fight, he was 1-3-1. 1-4-1, keep in mind. He had been put so far behind despite getting that solo kill early. Now, 3-4-3. Huge fight out of Viper, and they look to see if they can replicate that now. With Winston galloping away, the wrong side has to go between two turrets to escape, and that leaves out Trevor. Trevor taking a lot of damage, but they got a lot more damage onto Yarson. They could take him down. Meech, though, cannot reliably go into all 5 members of TSM Academy, not this time around.
Clean pick there for TSM. They don't get anyone else, but it's just Trevor, both summoner spells and the ultimate. That's nice to have, as we see that Anime Girl is still in that bottom lane, trying to get some damage onto this turret, and maybe setting up for a Drake play also. Trevor will be alive for that one, so Immortals certainly can go for a team fight around that spot. Let's check for TSM's ultimates, though, because we just saw that gigantic team fight, and they have some really long cooldowns.
Yeah.
The biggest one for me is Instinct. He doesn't have that Feather Storm available, and that kind of makes him a sitting duck.
If Winston walks right into their hands, might just work out for them. That's gonna be the slam dunk kill for Viper. Winston now gone with only 12 seconds remaining until that dragon spawns. This is TSM's objective.
Yeah, it really feels like it. Immortals, they know they can't compete with that one. Trying to find Kaido.
For Kaido, Shuriken flip, and Tron connected, but they can follow that one up to pick up a kill and return. The dragon has not been taken by TSM Academy. Keep that in mind. They're going to be able to get a lot of damage with a shutdown going over to the side of Shoji. The Shuriken flip into the back line with 3 members. Viper doing his damnedest to make sure they can get a killing spree for himself, but they've got too many members. Trevor, Meech, Shoji, they're here to win out. They are 3v3, and now with Viper onto Meech, but Meech is still kiting this one back out the best he damn can. Healing up a lot. Viper might be able to get Trevor, but look at Viper. He took a lot of damage from Shoji and Meech. Nice dredge line from Yarson, and here's Viper, double kill. Shoji now in massive trouble as he looks to get over the wall, flashing just to do so, but Viper does not relent. He forces him so far away from the pit, but Winston has spawned. Holy hell, Snacks, what's going on? Another dredge line comes in from Yarson, but they got the kill with a nice step charge in the back line, and Hyper's gone, shut down for Winston. Holy hell, this was one messy fight.
They accounted for everything except for the death timers on TSM Academy. It's Winston in the final hour who arrives to clean up the party, picking up after his team, and try as you may for Viper to win all of that fight. It ended up going from a 4v5 to a 5v5 in the end. It was just delayed a bit as Winston comes back onto the Rift. Meech and Viper again competing to see who can be the biggest carry on the Rift. It's so close this time, and for this one, Viper does have the help of Yarson. This last hook here, oh, it's just so good.
Yarson, this is why I say him on an engaged champion. It is a spectacular thing to witness.
Yeah, I'm continuously flabbergasted by these team fights. This game, it was 12-6 before, and now it is 17-16. It is back to such a close one again. And again, I complained before, and I'm getting what I complained about. Closer games.
This is a far closer game. Even if this ends up being a 2-0 for Immortals AOE, this has been one hell of a battle for TSM Academy to get back into this game. They still retained that gold lead. They've held on to it this entire time, despite still being behind in kills.
Instinct has actually a pretty sizable lead over Meech right now.
Yeah.
If you want to remark, because that is pretty rare against Meech to have this kind of a lead. And Instinct doing it on the champion that he was just defeated on against Meech with this Xayah. Really cool stuff to see Instinct stepping up and getting all of this gold onto his champion. Can he actually be as big a carry as Viper in this game?
Now Hyper, like Winston before him, falls to the enemy when he didn't need to be there, and this actually catches out Yarson along the way. 2 kills for Immortals AOE with the Baron spawned. This could be their chance to take down the Purple Worm.
Hyper is dead. Viper's still alive, though, with ultimate and flash. Riven in tight corridors. It's not something you want to mess with. Viper does need to go down if Immortals are going to take this cleanly, and they have to go against the unstoppable onslaught of Kaizuo, too. Oh, this is so risky for Immortals. You gotta turn.
They've got to turn at some point. It's down to 50%. They still haven't decided what they want to do. They will retreat after they notice how low Winston was, and Viper using that to capitalize. Going into the backline, onto me, onto Trevor, looking for the kill. Wasn't able to take down Winston just immediately, but he dives back in for an immediate double kill. Make it a triple kill. Viper, he is massive. This is his champion.
I tried to warn you, Immortals AOE. You cannot do that, even if the jungler is dead, even if they don't have the crowd control of the support. Viper will still do it. Triple kill on his signature Riven champion, as now the tides have completely turned to TSM Academy. They will take this Baron away. No contest to be had at all. And let's watch the beginning of this fight one more time too, because IMT do actually take a really solid opener. They just get too big for their britches, and they try to shoot for the stars. They just end up floating around in space.
Well, I think you were right. What they needed to do was pull the trigger. If you're going to try to bait them in like that, you need to be the team aggressing. Instead, it was TSM Academy who found you on the retreat, even when you had the man advantage.
Good looks from TSM Academy, though. They're solidly back in the lead for this one. They should have enough pressure onto the Rift to make sure that they don't face off against another soul of IMT AOE. And I say should because there is still a chance. These team fights have been really good for Immortals AOE. They just need to do it one more time. And TSM now with Baron have a lot of ways to stop this from happening. Kaido is level 16, so those ultimates are really low cooldown. We're getting to the point where he could actually use ultimates twice in a single team fight, depending on how long it goes, and they're going to be more powerful than before too.
Plus, looking to balloon that gold lead from 5,500 up to 6,000. They now control against Immortals AOE, and they are knocking at the door of Immortals AOE at this point. Immortals got to pull the trigger at some point. They got to find a flank, but they don't have PPs outside of Anime Girl.
Anime Girl is already here on the play, so that is good if they do want to break something out. Here's the engage.
Dredge line depth charge on Shochi again. Split up the fight. They've taken out Leona, but they've got a lot of damage on Instinct, forcing out the Feather Storm. They still have the man advantage for the side of TSM Academy. They knocked down their first inhibitor, and Kaido looks for Winston, who is trying to defend mid lane. If forced to ult away, another inhibitor turn, another inhibitor taken off one play by TSM Academy.
Oh, this is really good news for TSM Academy fans. They are super close to finishing out this game. They only have a minute left on their Baron, but they already got everything that they wanted apart from the Nexus. They can move over to this dragon, and as long as they don't let Winston into this pit, this won't be a soul for IMT AOE. Winston not even confident enough to walk past his red buff. That makes sense. He certainly would have died. As TSM deny the soul for another 5 minutes. That is huge. They could end the game in that time frame.
Yeah, there's no ult either for Winston. Would have struggled just to get into the pit. Plus, like you said, completely blind in his own jungle. Now he's utilizing the fact he knows there's going to be a reset for TSM Academy. He's really far out. And if they pick up on the fact that he's here, Winston, you don't want to be here, buddy.
Definitely does not. I don't think they know at all that he is there.
They have no idea.
If they did, then he would definitely be dead. No ultimate. Oh, Anime Girl.
The Anime Girl shuriken flips away. The reason why this is so risky, though, there's no TP out of Shochi. He can't join in. Viper has the flank. You have to kill them quickly. They've taken out one. They're looking for Yurson on the other side, but it's Viper that you really have to worry about. He's here to party. He's already got one kill, looking for Anime Girl. They've got 2 kills. You always have to focus on Viper when he's playing Riven, because the moment you relent, the moment you forget that he's on his signature champion, he'll take full advantage, bounce back from 1-4 to 10-5.
Beach is still alive. Can they actually make the wild goose chase work, or is Zeri going to get the better end of this deal? No ultimate means no movement, and it's just dead. Meech gone in the enemy team's jungle. Winston kited the team into his recall, and Meech dies for it. Oh, that's such a tragedy. What a betrayal.
Dies for the sins of Winston, and now it is TSM's game to lose like the first game, but this time a lot later. We take a look at display. There's a reason why I said Shochi doesn't have TP. It was a 4v5.
The engage onto Instinct is really cool, though. They kill him very efficiently. He doesn't even finish the Zaya ultimate in the end. However, Instinct, try as he may, is just not the main character in this game. It's Viper on Riven. So much damage, so much mobility and survivability too on this pick. Now 10 kills on the Rift, by far the most in this game. And
Wait,
we get to see the wind down onto Meech. It's just devastation from the top lane.
And somehow Kaido just killed Winston. This game is over. Viper doesn't even fear diving into 4 members on the other side because he had Guardian's Angel. The team can now collapse, try to bounce out a charm a little bit too late. Viper will still fall, or will he? No, he won't. He'll fight back and take down Shoji. Meech, the Meech diff ain't there this time. It is the Viper diff. He is here to win. He is not about to get knocked out so early in Proving Grounds. This is his stopping grounds. This is when he dominates everyone else, as Meech now inside the base will die. It is a 3-game series here at Smax as we have a tied-up victory by TSM Academy.
2 comebacks in a row, Magical. It's a lose lane, win game kind of night at this point. What a performance to bring it all back around for TSM Academy and for Viper especially, man. I told you, he wanted to do his brother proud. He wants to win on the same day as Sniper. The Hyper twins are trying to do it. Should it be triplets? Should I throw Hyper in there too? I should. It's 3 of them.
No, because it's Crimson that's the other brother.
Well,
you just got to tell
guess.
Crimson to change his name to be more matching. That's what you really got to do. But I gotta say, this is just like, yeah, we keep hyping up Viper in this game, but Kaido as well, someone who had a difficult laning phase, how he bounced back too. And I talked about that being one of the conditions they could rely on in the late game was the fact that both Riven and Silas do well in the late game. Well, Kaido proved it.
Yeah. That was gross. That was a phenomenal game. We were worried that they didn't have enough scaling on their team, but I mean, both of those champions, Silas and Riven, really paid off. And we saw that early game really work out for them too. They did actually have those leads in the lane with their CS and their gold and their experience. On top of all of that, they were losing out on these skirmishes, but they stayed in it because of those leads. And I called Instinct a side character in that game. I feel bad. He did do a very good job in a lot of those team fights too. The Xayah did work out, and Xayah 100% win rate in the series.
I'll say also Instinct. I'm your biggest fan now because he built Aximark. I'm very happy that I am a big fan of Aximark, mostly because they play a lot of ARMs. But it's honestly just fun to see that built up because he's like, yeah, I'm not the main character, but I might as well get as many Featherstorms as I can in these fights so that if there's that focus onto me, I'm just always going to bounce around. I'm always going to dodge away from these fights every single time they commence.
We saw in lane 2 that he and Yursam were on the same page a lot more when he was playing Nautilus, and that was true the entire game. I really liked the synergy from both of those two, and in the team fights, the entire squad for TSM showed up in that way. Something in the pep talk between these games really worked because they actually were able to match that power that Immortals AOE showed to us in game 1, and they used it against them. I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, it's honestly just impressive to see. Because usually when you have a game like you do in game 1, where you fall behind, like you get ahead, and then somehow still lose that game, you feel really bad going into the second one. It's usually pretty demoralizing. The TSM, while they did struggle at the early stages of the game when we expected them to be dominant, they really did turn on the gas when it came to grouping up as a team. And they really looked like that team that I've been seeing in the second half of the round robins during spring.
I imagine going into this third game, they will need to find a way to do that without the top lane counter pick. Because if I am Immortals AOE, I'm going back to red. I am denying that away from Viper. I'm making sure that Anime Girl gets a better matchup and maybe panning out Riven also, because that was quite a performance, quite a confidence boost for Viper too, who we know is a very confidence-driven player. That one's going to help.
Oh, for sure. Now we're tied up 1-1. This next game is all or nothing for both TSM Academy and Immortals AOE. We'll find out how that game will be after a break, as well as a little bit of a halftime show with Kangas. Make sure you stay tuned.